Hello, fellow fragrance lovers. It's Justin with SAUVAGE Scents. Today I've got a list of 10 fragrances that are strong and long-lasting. And these are some great scents. Some of my favorites actually are in this list. So as we get going, I want to ask you to consider clicking the subscribe button, turn on notifications. I've got videos coming out every 2 or 3 days, and I'd love it if you'll join us. Also, let me know in the comments, what would you add to this list? What are some great performing fragrances? Go ahead and drop them down there and we can have some dialogue about it. I'll look forward to communicating with you. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get into this list of some awesome, good fragrances that perform well. Okay, first up, I'm going to mention one that is great for the summer. This is in the Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue line. That whole line is kind of citrus forward with a kind of woodsy, musky dry down. The one that is probably my favorite so far, although I haven't smelled this year's release, is this one right here, Light Blue Forever. This one is basically the backbone of light blue, but it has a very realistic, juicy grapefruit in the opening. I was in an Ulta a couple years ago and I sprayed this on my hand and I was blown away by how just vividly realistic the grapefruit smelled. I knew that I had to pick it up. Again, Light Blue Forever. If you don't like a strong grapefruit or a realistic grapefruit, you're going to want to steer clear of this one. Go with Light Blue Intense or something like that. But man, if you do, this one is awesome. All right, we'll go with a cool weather scent. This is one that I love to wear pretty much from November through January. That's where this one really shines. It is a very spicy fragrance, an extreme bomb of spices, one might say. I'm talking about SPICEBOMB Extreme by VIKTOR and ROLF. And so I love the original SPICEBOMB as well. This one and that one so far are my favorites, although again, I haven't smelled the newest release. The red EDP, or Parfum, I mean. Nevertheless, this one is a bomb of spices. You've got some black pepper, you've got some cinnamon, you've got some nutmeg, you've also got some woods, some cedar, maybe even a touch of oud. I'm not sure about that. And if there is a little oud, it's not an oudy fragrance by any stretch of the imagination. But then you've got vanilla. So you've got a vanilla that really smooths out the spiciness. And man, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. It's strong, it lasts forever. I've heard people complain about performance. My bottle is easily a 12-hour fragrance and it projects for 4 hours, and that is not an exaggeration. One of my best performing fragrances, SPICEBOMB Extreme. This bottle is only probably a little over a year old, so it's not an old formulation. It performs great. All right, next up we'll go with one that works all year round, but it definitely shines in the summer. It's a blue fragrance and one of, I think, the best value blue fragrances. I'm talking about VERSACE Dylan Blue. And so this one is, citrus, sort of a bright opening with some sweetness. And then in the base, you've got, of course, some woods, you've got some darkness. But one of the things that stands out with this one is that you've got this awesome smokiness. And so it has some similarities to Bleu de Chanel in that regard, although I prefer this one 10 out of 10 times to Bleu de Chanel, just because it doesn't have so much of a soapiness in the opening. That's an accord I don't really love in fragrances. This one's got more of a sweetness and a brightness, and then it moves into that more kind of dark, smoky, woodsy dry down. Absolutely love it, and you can get 100 ml, I think, for $50 or less on discounters, which is just a great deal. Okay, the next one, this will be the first clone in the video. This one's definitely more of a cooler weather fragrance because it's definitely a rich, heavy, sweet fragrance. This is a clone of Stronger With You Absolutely. This is Fragrance World Proud of You Absolute. And it's a very good clone of Stronger With You Absolutely. It basically, to me, kind of smells like, as you can imagine, Stronger With You with that sort of rich, vanillic, ambery sweetness with a chestnut accord that is very noticeable. And then you add in some booze, maybe some rum or whiskey or something like that. That's really what it smells like. You know, there's a number of fragrances that have come out with a similar DNA since Stronger With You came out. And this one has that wonderful, you know, warm, cozy sweetness from Stronger With You with a boozy note added in there that makes this one gorgeous. Okay, next up we'll go with one that again is pretty versatile, but I like wearing it in the heat, although this is again a list of strong, long-lasting fragrances. This one can be overpowering if you spray too much, especially for the first couple hours. This is by LATTAFA, but it's not a clone. It's an original fragrance as far as I know. This is QAED Al FURSAN. And this is basically a bomb of juicy pineapple. That's one of the standout accords in this fragrance. But then as it dries down, you have some oud, you have some darkness. To me, I smell the oud right in the opening. It's not an overly, you know, oudy fragrance, but that bright, juicy pineapple, it smells like you've just opened a can of pineapple, or you've just you know, because it's a sugary, syrupy pineapple, or maybe you've cut into fresh pineapple, but probably more, you've just opened a can of pineapple, and then you put a little bit of that Middle Eastern funk in there, and you've got something very interesting that is strong enough and sweet enough to work well in cold weather, but is bright enough and fruity enough to work in the heat. So QAED Al FURSAN, you can pick it up for around $20. It is a steal and a great fragrance. All right, this next one, this is a pretty new pickup for me. I just got it in the last couple months. I bought it in the heat, which is hilarious because this is definitely a cooler weather fragrance. And I fell in love the first time I sprayed it on. This is EMIR Wild and Tobacco. This is a Paris Corner fragrance, their EMIR line, and it's a clone of Mancera Red Tobacco. And this is a powerful tobacco fragrance. It's got this beautiful, dark, sweet tobacco, but then it's also got an awesome cinnamon note and a very dark patchouli, as well as some woods in the base. I think it has a little bit of leather as well. It definitely smells a little bit leathery. In the opening, you have something that Ash from Jensen's described as something that will remind you of like furniture varnish. This sort of sweet, very powerful, almost pungent fragrance, similar to Mancera Red Tobacco. I don't mind it. I think it actually smells good. And then about 10 minutes later, that kind of settles down and you get this dark, complex, sweet, spicy, beautiful tobacco fragrance. Absolutely love it. You can get it for around $30 to $40 depending on where you pick it up, and it is a very strong, very long-lasting fragrance. Highly recommended. All right, next up we're going to go with one that a lot of people hate on. Every time I put it in a video, I get hate in the comments, but I don't care what you say. This stuff smells amazing. I still love it. I'm talking about the original SAUVAGE EDT. It is a long-lasting, strong, powerful fragrance. You've got this peppery, citrus, metallic blast in the opening. And that's sort of the standout. The EDT in particular has that metallic, some people will say screechy, very powerful opening that projects for really several hours and that will last on your skin for, 10 hours or something like that. One of the best blue fragrances still, as far as I'm concerned. And man, I love it. I would say to date, this is still my most complimented fragrance. Definitely top 3, but probably my most complimented fragrance, this and the clones. And so you cannot beat DIOR SAUVAGE for just a anytime, anywhere, every situation. Super versatile, and I think it smells amazing. And most people do. It's just, I think people at this point feel an obligation to say they hate it because, tens of millions of bottles have been sold. All right, next up, this one definitely shines in the cooler weather, and this one is so gorgeous, and the more that I've worn it, the more nuance I get out of it. Initially, when you spray this one on, Mercedes-Benz Club Black, all you're going to get is vanilla. Gorgeous, gourmand, sweet, soft vanilla. But as you wear it, you start to get a little bit of the nuance. There is a little bit of ambroxan in this. There's a little bit of smoky woods in this, almost like an incensed kinds of woods in this. And so as I've worn it more and more, I get a little bit of the texture of the ambroxan, and I'll get a little bit of the woodsiness and a little bit of the smokiness. It's just on the edges, just enough to make this gorgeous vanilla, be more than just a simple one-note fragrance. It's got a little bit of nuance that I love. This is one that my sons, for the first year that I had it, would come in sneak sprays, and they'd walk past me and leave a cloud of vanilla. And I would say, have you been spraying my cologne again without asking? And sure enough, they had. All right, next up, this is one that is really an all year long fragrance, but now whenever it's 95 degrees out time, it works really well, although you can certainly wear it in the winter also. This is a clone of Roja Parfums Elysium, and this is a powerful, long-lasting clone. This is Evolution del Homme Soir by Parfums Vintage. Parfums Vintage makes very high-end clones. I think with shipping, this was $150 for 100 ml. One of the more expensive fragrances that I own, but it is basically Elysium, the Parfum Cologne, with the vetiver increased by about 50% or so. It's better performing than the original. It's got some push. It's not a nuclear projector, but it's definitely got good projection, and it will last 8-10 hours, which for a citrus heavy fragrance like this is unusual. I believe you've got lime and bergamot, you've got black currant, you've got this beautiful burst of citrus, you've got in the dry down, of course, vetiver, you've got some leather, which you can actually smell in this one, you've got vanilla, so you've got some darker notes, a touch of vanilla. It's a pretty complex fragrance, but if you don't like a grassy vetiver, steer very clear of this one because it has the vetiver from Elysium and then some. All right, this is my final fragrance. This is another clone, so I guess I've got about 4 clones out of the 10. This one is a great clone fragrance, and if you can pick it up, you can usually get it for about $20, and this is like 95% similar to the original. This is Noir Endurance by Just Jack. They make some really good, really cheap clones. Then I think they make some that are not so great, but this is a $20 clone of Noir Extreme by Tom Ford, and it is so very similar. It's a powerful fragrance. It's a long-lasting fragrance, probably a 10-hour performer on me. It's got not necessarily monster projection, but great sillage. You will just leave a cloud of this fragrance wherever you go. And this is a slightly spicy gourmand fragrance modeled after the Middle Eastern dessert kulfi. It's got a little bit of florals in there. It's got a little bit of a powdery vibe, a little bit of sort of a fuzzy powdery vibe with some cardamom and I believe some cinnamon and some other spices. So it's a spicy, floral, gourmand fragrance. It's really good. If you've smelled Noir Extreme, you know exactly what you're getting into. Powerful, long-lasting, inexpensive clone of that fragrance. So that has been 10. I kind of stumbled over my words a little bit in this video, but such is life. And my family's going to bust through the door any minute, so I don't have time to record it again. But thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for watching. I'm Justin. This has been Sillage Scents. Please go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'd love to have you join us for future videos. And again, let me know down in the comments, what would you add to this list of great performing fragrances that you love? And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.